You both.
All right, ready to go? All right, so what we'll do, we'll go through all the pictures that I took. All these pictures will end up in the report. I'll get that all put together, email it out to everybody this afternoon. You see that? Okay. No, here, I'll turn it so you can get
Whatever's good for you.
better view for it. Okay, so again, this way you can kind of see everything I saw while I came through the house. Obviously, picture the house the way it looked when I got here this morning. Out front, this is where your water main's at. It's right by the front door. Water pressure coming in the house about 73 psi. Should be between 40 and 80. So everything actually there looks good. No issues. The only issue that I do have with the water main at all is the hose bib that's on top. When we turn that on, you can actually see that water is dripping out from underneath the handle a little bit. There's a bushing that just needs to be tightened down. Not a huge issue, but should obviously be taken care of because you're going to lose some water. These are the sewer cleanouts, which are located right out here in front of the dining room window. Again, nothing wrong with those, just letting everybody know what they are, where they're at, that kind of thing. Stucco around the, I'm sorry, we're not talking about stucco yet. We're actually talking about the gas meter. The gas was actually plumbed to the neighborhood. Everything was gas out here. They've actually had the gas removed from the house, so you have electric or a heat pump for the heating and cooling and electric AC or electric water heater. So there is no gas in the house, but there is a stub. Just letting you know it's there. Now, main electrical panel, which is located over on the south side of the house. Everything is marked inside the panel the way it should be, so that looks good. And we pull that cover off, we look inside for any arcing, sparking, double tapping, make sure wire sizes are correct, that kind of thing. Looks great. 200 amp service, it's all copper, no issues inside the panel. Now we'll talk about the stucco a little bit. All the homes in Arizona, or not in Arizona, I'm sorry, in Sun City West, when Del Webb built these, they took the stucco all the way down to the grade, right where the rocks are meeting it. Now, everywhere else in the country and across the United States, you should have a 4-inch gap in between the stucco and the rocking itself. There's really no way to fix this at this point, but it's something to keep an eye on for moisture intrusion coming up through there. Termites can actually get behind the stucco and go up into the walls. However, it's just the way that these are constructed. It's not against code. It's not against building standard. It's just not typical practice everywhere except for here in Sun City West, apparently. So it's just one of those things to, again, keep your eyes on and monitor. As long as we were talking about termites, we did have citywide termite came. They did a termite inspection on the house. There was no evidence of any termites, so you get a 1-year warranty on the house. And also, once you close on it, you could actually have them come out and do a first pest control treatment free. That's part of our service. Just give them a call. Their number will be on the report. Now the AC unit, which is actually located on the north side of the house, is a Carrier. This is actually a 2019 brand new heat pump, 4-ton unit, working exactly as intended, and again, no issues with it. Now in the back patio, there's a little bit of stucco damage right up at the eaves, right underneath, or right over the top of the patio itself, where you got some cracks, some areas where the stucco's kind of gapped open a little bit. Again, it's a moisture intrusion area. They should be patched. You can get any of that patching at Home Depot or Lowe's or anywhere like that and patch those, then paint to match. The ceiling that's in the patio, I know this is really hard to see in the picture. However, they've done some previous repairs. Looks like they might have had a leak on the roof at some point because there was also a repair on the roof over the patio. But again, no evidence of any current moisture. It's just a previous issue. Picture of the pool, big hole with water in it. Yay. In the backyard. Now, a couple things we noticed while we were looking at the pool. These are the tiles that are going into the skimmer over on the side of the pool, and you can actually see you've got a crack in those tiles that run all the way across. Those tiles should be replaced because, again, you don't want to get moisture past any of those tiles. Those should be replaced. Also, the aerator head, that's that fan spray that goes over the top of the pool, is broken off. That screws into it's basically an outlet that's right there at the edge of the pipe. The old one should be screwed out and a new one put in there. Because right now when you turn on the aerator, it's just going to be a solid stream of water coming out. So it needs to be changed back to a fan head. Back on the patio stucco, those stanchions that are out back, again, a little bit of minor damage on those back posts. And again, those should be just patched with regular stucco patch. And then, now we're going back to the pool again. Sorry, that one was out of order. This is actually the self-fill anti-siphon device for the pool. So it keeps that level in the pool, make sure that the water stays up there. And currently they have it shut off, which was kind of a question trying to figure out why they had it shut off. But the more I started looking at it, you can see all the corrosion down here at the bottom. I went ahead and turned on that valve, and you can start seeing moisture right around that connection. So the connections need to be pulled apart, resealed, so that everything is back in the way it's supposed to be, and it's no longer leaking. Picture of the pool equipment itself. Actually, overall looks good, but any of the piping, you can see up here and in this little bit closer picture, piping that's exposed to the sun will start turning colors. That's where that kind of purple color comes from. That's the UV rays that are actually starting to disintegrate the PVC piping. So our recommendation always in these is keep it painted with a good exterior latex paint, something that needs to be done every couple years, just to keep the UV rays off the PVC, because eventually what will happen is you start getting pinhole leaks in the PVC piping itself. Currently there's no leaks, however we'd recommend having those painted. Also, there is a chlorinator that's installed on the side of the home. It's an electronic chlorinator to self-generate chlorine for the pool itself. But as you can see, the hose that comes off of it that's supposed to be hooked up to the piping is not hooked up to anything. So it's no longer functioning, no longer working. So you got to put regular chlorine in it to keep it chlorinated. It could be repaired or replaced depending on what's wrong with it. Obviously, there's no test for it other than is it generating chlorine or not. But right now, apparently it's not generating chlorine. Pictures of the roof proving I was actually up there. Concrete tile roof. These are just some overshots, and the roof actually looks really good. It appears to be that they've had somebody go up there probably within the last 6 months and made sure everything was
Go ahead. Don't let me interrupt.
Top-notched and repaired in some areas. They do have a couple of tiles that have been cracked and they've been repaired. Very common in state Arizona. That's the way roofers are going to do those things. However, we have to put it in the report that it is an improper repair due to the fact that the manufacturer states that the only repair is replacement. But again, every roofer in the state's going to actually just caulk them back together so you're not getting different colored tiles up on the roof. But it's still doing exactly what it's supposed to do. This is back actually on the back patio. And again, sorry about that. There is a area where they've done some patching. Looks like there may have been an issue on the flat roof, which was evident from the repairs that were underneath of it that we talked about earlier. However, again, repair looks fine. It was a past issue. I'd recommend finding out from the owners if they have any information on that or if it's still under warranty or anything like that. Otherwise, I can tell you that right now it looks fine. I know it's not leaking today. Water softener that is in the garage. Again, looks fine. We don't test the water softener. It's beyond the scope of the inspection, but we do look at it for installation issues. The only thing that I did find with the water softener, which we see on a lot of them, is that there's no jumper line in between two water lines coming into the unit. Now the head that's on top of these is actually an all plastic head. So if there was an electrical current that hit one of the lines prior to the water heater, it's not going to travel to any lines past the water heater. So it's simple jumper wire that runs in between the two pipes. And again, something we call out 90% of the time, but it's supposed to be there. Water heater that's in the garage is an American water heater. This was actually manufactured in 2014, and it's 50-gallon, doing what it's supposed to do, it heats water. Yay. All is good with the water heater. And then the gas furnace that's out there, or not gas furnace, I'm sorry, the air handler for the heat pump is also a Carrier. This was replaced when they replaced the outside unit because it is also, just double checking, yeah, it's also a 19 and looks fine. No issues with the air handler at all in any way. Now the garage door opener, we did raise and lower the garage door opener, make sure it worked properly, which it did, went up and down. And then the electric eye that's down at the bottom operated the way it was supposed to. Now back here on the back of the unit, there's actually two adjustments. And the down pressure needs to be adjusted just a little bit. When it comes down with too much pressure. You're supposed to reverse with 2.5 pounds of pressure. It takes about 10 to 15 to reverse it. Meaning if you had a small dog that was running out there, it could get crushed. So it just needs to be adjusted. It's a safety issue. Also in the garage, you got some minor cracks at the ceiling. These are tape seams right along the side walls where they've just started to loosen up a little bit. It's not a moisture issue. It's just basically because it's in a garage, and the garages will get to about 130, 140 degrees in the summertime. So that they end up starting to pull some seams. So we're basically letting you know this is normal and not something to call me and say, is the house falling down because we have some cracks. It's typical cracks. Now in the master bedroom, we did fill up both the sinks and tubs and made sure everything drained the way it was supposed to. And in both of the sinks in there, they drain a little slow. The stoppers themselves could be adjusted a little bit, but it also appears there might be some clogs down in those drains a little bit. Would recommend having those cleaned out so that they drain properly. Also in the shower, got a little bit of, it's kind of a blurry picture, but there's a little bit of rust ends and some gaps in the caulking where the shower walls meet the shower floor. And again, these should just be re-caulked in, cleaned out, made sure there's no mildew in there. In the hallway bathroom, in between the tub and the wall itself, again, just some caulking. As every house settles and moves, because the earth is always turning, you're going to get some of those cracks that come up. And again, this is very common, but should be re-caulked in so you don't get any water penetration in behind the wall. Also in that bathroom, the tub diverter is not working as intended completely. When you pull up the stopper to start the shower, you're still getting quite a bit of water coming out to the bottom. As I was explaining to your agent earlier, pretty simple fix. There's a gasket in there that needs to be replaced, or replace the whole tub spout for like $5, and it'll make the problem go away. In one of the bedrooms, again, minor hairline crack in the wall, and again, this is normal settlement, normal movement. Again, just letting you know it's there. We had quite the adventure with some outlets here in the house. Ones that are over in the dining room. There's 2 outlets, one right underneath the window going into the den, one right next to the door that goes to the outside, and then the outside outlet. We didn't have any power to them. So we started trying to figure out where that went. The issue was, and what it came down to, let me just jump ahead here, just a couple outlets here. In the kitchen, the GFCI that's in there is actually running all of those outlets. The problem with that is by electrical standard, you can't have any outlets outside the kitchen on the kitchen circuit. I did go up to the attic and looked at the attic. It doesn't look like it was done after the fact. This has probably been this way since the builder built it. Again, I was trying to explain why it would be a problem is if you had a couple things on the countertop that were plugged in and using high things like a blender, bread maker, whatever, and those are pulling high circuits or high amperancy. The ones that are outside the kitchen are on that same circuit and could blow one of those circuits. So they should be isolated and separated. However, like I said, I think it's been that way since it's been built. But we'd recommend having an electrician pull those other outlets off of that same circuit, the one that's by the back door and the one that's under the window in the dining room. Okay, moving forward, there was also a previous repair to the kitchen ceiling. Looks like they might have moved the light from where it was originally at. It's where the patch is at the ceiling is right in front of the double doors. And they just moved it to offset it so it was over the top of the sink, or over the top of where their table was. Nothing wrong with that. Again, just letting you know what it is and where it's at. At the front door, the outlet that's right next to the front door has one of the prongs that are broke off inside the outlet itself, so you can't plug anything into it. We'd recommend having that outlet replaced. And, this is just showing where that outlet is the one that's right next to the door. So I didn't lose track of it. That's that GFI in the kitchen we were just talking about. Now the range doesn't have its anti-tip device, which is that L-shaped bracket that goes under the back leg, so that if somebody stepped on the door, the whole thing doesn't tip over on them. This was a new requirement as of 2007. Again, something we call out almost 90% of the inspections that we do. But again, for safety, it should be there. In the kitchen, a few of the hinges in the cabinets just a little loose. They need to be tightened up. Still open and closed, fine. They're just loose hinges and need to be tightened down. And then at the flooring, you've got some grout cracks that run across the dining room. Again, very normal settlement. Monitor those. If the tiles start lifting on one side or the other, then there's a bigger issue, but this is just a grout crack at this point. Now we did run the heat pump, make sure it was operational and working the way it was supposed to. Had 108 degrees coming out in heat mode, which means it's working exactly the way it's supposed to. Anything over 95 says it's working as intended. Now this is a heat pump, so it does both heating and cooling, and it does the exact same operation whether it's forwards or backwards. There's a valve inside of it that switches directions to make the gases inside of the Freon run in the opposite direction. So if it works in heating mode, it will work in cooling mode, but we can't test it in both modes because it can actually damage the units if we do so. So we're letting you know it does work in heating mode, which means it will work in cooling mode, but you won't see the cooling splits. Pictures of the attic, proving I was actually up there also. Trusses actually look good, no evidence of any water damage anywhere. And the insulation level is about 12 inches of blown-in fiberglass, gives you about an R30 to R32 insulation value. So that actually looks really good. No issues in the attic at all. And then the last pictures that are in here are actually all the different rooms in the house, the way they look today. So there's a record of all those that go into the report. And like I said, what I'll do is I'll put all those into a report for you and get that emailed out. And then if you have any questions, you can always give me a call. My number is also in the report.
Fantastic.
Great. Very good.
Now that that's done, the house is